Hi, everyone. I think it's time to kick off for us. Welcome to this Tech Break. Tech Break, for those who don't know, is an event organized by Algolia for everyone from the ecosystem to share their experience and to leverage each other's knowledge. Tech Break is the online version of our usual tech lunch where we meet in our Algolia office. And this has been changed, obviously, so we're super excited to have you all online right now. This means basically you get the best insights while being super comfortable in your jogging pants at home. So I guess this is a win-win situation for all of us. To kick it off, for those who don't know Algolia, we help businesses across different industries to quickly create relevant and scalable and really lightning fast search and discovery experiences. And our mission is to empower companies to create delightful search and discovery experiences. Right now, we have more than 8,000 companies that work with us, like Weight Watchers, Medium, Lacoste, and Stripe, and they all rely on our enterprise-grade API. A couple of words about myself. I'm Mirka Heitland, German, hence the weird name. I will be your master of ceremony and host today. I'm the team manager of business development at Algolia for Southern Europe. Weirdly enough, I also speak French, hence they put me on Southern. And today we will be talking about business development during 2020. And when we talk about business development, just to get our vocabulary right before we kick off these 45 minutes together, business development here means the outbound prospecting motion of your sales reps. So that team that's really in charge of creating a pipeline for your organization. And why are we even talking about business development? From our experience across the board of the panelists today, we saw that business development teams are crucial to scale your business, and they're really the front line of sales and the pathfinders into different markets. So they're kind of the unsung heroes of the tech world. And we want to shed a bit of light on how to bring about success with these type of teams. So we're super excited to kick this off today. And one tiny caveat before I introduce the panelists is the terminology sometimes changes. There's business development and sales development. Today, during our discussion, we're going to be using the term business development, meaning the outbound sales motion. And for the people on our teams, we're going to call them BDRs, business development representatives. In some organizations, they're called SDRs, sales development representatives. So we'll call it BDRs for the sake of the ease. Let's kick it off with our panelists. So today, we proudly present Saskia Jennesson. She is the owner and senior principal consultant of Sales Enablement International and brings 20 years of experience in the sales enablement field to the table. Super excited to have you, Saskia.
Well, thank you very much, Mirka. And hello, audience.
Cool. Then we have also a French representative, Bao Hamaguchi. He is the SaaS team lead at Talent.io, and it's really interesting because Benjamin is not only leading the BDR team, he also has account managers and account executives that are reporting to him. Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, quickly, I forgot. Benjamin is coming from Talent.io, a great Paris-based startup that work on a SaaS model to help companies find the best talent out there. And of course, our very own Algolia, Aletta Mercier. She's manager for sales development in EMEA. She has about a dozen BDRs that are working with her in London and in Paris. She's Dutch, French, and just a citizen of Europe. Welcome, Aletta.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm super excited to have you all on board. So let's all get comfortable. We have 45 minutes together. The first 30 minutes are going to be just our open panel and discussion. And then after that, we're going to have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. So if you have questions that are popping up, feel free to leave them in the chat. You can see that in your own Zoom window where you can leave those questions and we will try to answer all of them. As a quick overview of the agenda, we're going to walk through a bit the core of what BDR is, the role of the team within companies, how to build a great culture of a team, and how to tackle frequently occurring challenges. And this is all a bit under the umbrella of, because obviously what do you want to learn from this webinar is how to be successful with a BDR organization, how to make the team successful, and how to make your company successful with a BDR team. So let's kick it off. I would like to learn from all of our panelists a day in your shoes. What is your day-to-day role? Who do you work with? And maybe give a quick overview of your organization. Should we kick it off with Benjamin?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. A day-to-day is not really easy to define, but I lead a team of 10 people that are, as you said, SDRs, BDRs, and account managers. So they are working on different topics, but we are delivering the same thing to all of our clients, which is our SaaS and unlimited model. So meaning that when we have a client on the platform, our role is to help the client to recruit as many candidates as it needs for the future. We work only on tech candidates, like mostly developers and data engineers. And so my team is focused on, for the SDRs, everything that is concerning outbound acquisition of new leads. For the BDRs, what we call sales executive, it's to really meet with clients, organize demos, and send commercial offers. And for account manager is to deliver what we offer to our clients.
Nice. And so when you talk about leads, does that mean companies that you target to sell to, or do you also target talent that you want to bring onto the platform?
We have both activities, but from my team, it's only for companies and recruiters. We have other teams working to attract talents and to attract candidates. So we basically split the activities between candidates and companies on the platform.
Nice, thank you so much. Saskia, do you want to give us a quick overview?
Well, you don't want to live my days because they're very full, and as you've seen, I really need a haircut as well.
Who doesn't?
When I am with customers, my role is to align BDRs with salespeople. So what I do is I do a lot of analysis. I talk to the BDRs, of course, on a day-to-day basis. What do they see? What happens? And then I try to put it all together. Managing a BDR team is just more than looking at reports. It's more than how many calls did you do, how many emails did you send out. It is being also for them a trusted person. So where they can come up, and later in the conversation today, we will also talk about challenges in a team. But my day-to-day work is really to get everybody aligned, working with the same goal, which is pipeline growth, and not only pipeline growth, but make sure the deals get closed.
Nice.
So that it is in a nutshell.
Nice. Aren't we all looking for the closed revenue?
Yeah,
return of stride. And Letta, I kind of know your day, but other people don't. Do you want to share with us how your day looks like?
Yeah, sure. So I agree that reports and dashboards are not the most important part of what we do, but I do start all my days with that because you still need to have an eye on them. So I usually, first of all, my mission as manager of the EMEA sales development team is really to generate about half of the pipeline that the team needs to be successful to close enough deals at the end. So that is our core mission. And then to execute that, my days are a mix of indeed looking at numbers and doing some analytics, driving as well sort of a general motion, because the power of the SDR or BDR team is really the volume that we can generate. And to generate that volume, you need to give your team members a very clear direction on what is expected of them. So we have things like morning huddles that we have every morning, where we give everybody visibility on where we're standing, what we need of them. Are there any specific initiatives, or is there any news that they should be looking at within the company or outside of the company? And then the rest of my days are generally spent either on projects to improve, to improve the general functioning of the team, meetings with other stakeholders within the company, be it marketing team members, sales team members, sales operations, marketing operations, in order to enable the team to do their job in the most focused way. And then obviously one-on-one meetings with every direct report I have. Every day I'll have one or two one-ones, actually more than that, to make sure that we are individually checking the activity and the performance of the team members.
Oh, thank you for that. And that also brings us immediately to the ultimate goal of all those activities we do day in, day out. How do you guys measure success? Is it pipeline flips, or do you call it bumps? And what are KPIs that you measure that have proven to indicate success? Alicia, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, for sure. So I have been working in sales development in a few different companies, and I've seen a lot of different models. So even in the companies, the two major SaaS companies where I've worked, including Algolia, even there, the model has changed like 3 times on each side. So I've probably seen 6 different models. So there's no one truth on how you measure success and how you also like compensate BDRs, because obviously that's part of how we measure success. It really depends on a few factors. I would say the way you measure success depends on the maturity of your company. Is your aim to really like make sure that the market knows about you, in which case you really need to generate a lot of growth, and then you will probably look at metrics such as the amount of conversations that your team members have, the amount of meetings that they generate. You don't want to filter them out. Whereas if you're a more mature company, you want to make sure that your account executives that receive that pipeline have enough, like that their time is as well spent as possible. So in that case, you may want to put a few safeguards before the AEs get involved, and in which case you might look at KPIs that are a bit further down the line, such as qualified pipeline or pipeline that actually moves into the next stage. So it really depends. Currently, the main ways I've seen BDRs be compensated, or like the way they are paid indeed, is either on meetings generated that happen, or on pipeline generated, or on opportunities created, or on opportunities that move stages. So these are like the different metrics that I've seen, and then you can play with them, you can mix them in order to have something that's actually allowing you to achieve your goal. But really the starting point needs to be, what is my company? What do I need my BDRs to do to deliver for the rest of the company? And that's where you generate the KPIs that you will target your team on. Then I'll add one last thing on this, is that obviously measuring success is not only based on compensation. A successful BDR is also someone that generates quality. It's also someone that generates activity. So you may want to look at things such as the response rate. Like a successful BDR might be the one that actually have their emails open and responded to. A successful BDR might also be someone that has a very high conversion rate. So you want to have a quality metric in there. So you might have someone that generates a lot of pipeline, but very little of that pipeline actually gets to close. So you may also want to have that in your metrics. So the way we solve it today at Algolia is we look at pipeline generated per team member, and we add in there a quality metric based on the progression of that pipeline further down the road. And the mix of these two generates the compensation.
Yeah, thank you. That was super insightful.
I can.
Saskia, I feel like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. The problem with making a success related to, for instance, pipeline moving down till closed, is that it's very hard to make people align on that. For a BDR, it is actually, they can bring it into qualification. But then it is the salespeople who need to take over. So that is why you need, oh, that's my view, to have a strong aligned team. Because BDRs are not responsible or cannot be responsible for moving the opportunity in the pipeline. And when for instance, an opportunity gets rejected either by the choice of the prospect or the choice of the company, because it might be too small or not relevant enough, then how do you measure that? So working in a BDR team and with a BDR team is actually working with a lot of, as Aletta already said, a lot of stakeholders. And
that's absolutely true, yeah.
And what we also see is that as a manager, it is your role to align all those stakeholders, but not everybody has the same objective. So sometimes it's hard. Being a BDR manager is not, okay, here's your team, make it happen, here are the results, good luck. That is it, not at all. I think it is one of the most difficult roles, because it's also very tempted to look on the sales side of things or wanting to do too much. So one of the things Aletta already said for the success factor, how to measure it, it is very important not to make it too complex. Because if you start mixing things, you get a lot of discussions. Yeah, but I detected this opportunity, but the sales didn't move it through. Or I created the opportunity and now it sits in qualification for over 6 months. So success must also come from the business goal of getting into success, and how is it translated into each part of the company with all the teams together. And in that, BDR managers, or no matter what they're called, like, they play a very important role. And when you are in sales enablement, like I am there, it takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah,
But
I think that's something
success
we've all
factors are
seen.
not just the KPIs.
Yeah, I think that's what we've all seen, right? That BDR teams depend so much on the relationships with other departments.
Yes.
But I'd be super curious, since you manage the entire sales cycle in one team, how does it look like at Talent.io? How do you measure success?
Yeah, well, obviously it really depends on the role of the people within the sales process. If you are SDR, if we are strictly looking at the factual thing you can measure, it's like the number of enrolled and converted leads.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically use your CRM like HubSpot or Pipedrive or anything else, and you just have a look at how many leads you have new today and how many are going to be converted. So this is something very basic, and this is something we measure for SDRs, since our team of SDR is really new. This is something we didn't have at Talent.io the last 6 months ago. So that's very new. For concerning the sales, really the sales part, like really business development at BDRs, we are having a deeper look at the number of commercial offers, the number of meetings we have with clients, and obviously the revenue we book, because this is, I mean, everything is coming from the revenue we want to book. So we obviously are looking a lot at the revenue we want to book. And regarding the account managers, so the biggest part of the job is to focus on the delivery. So the amount of recruitment, the number of recruitments our clients are going to do on the platform, but they are also involved on the upsell process or the renewal of some contracts, because when it comes to the end of the contract, for instance, at the end of a year of 6 months contract, you want to renew with your client, you have to prove what you have done during those 6 months, during those years. So they help us a lot to build the new commercial offer to renew the contract. So
really close
that's it.
Yeah, so they're really closely linked to the entire sales cycle in
Really
your
close,
case.
yes.
Nice. So
May I add something, please?
Yeah, of course.
What I see a lot is that marketing departments have MQLs. Like Benjamin mentioned, HubSpot, for instance. At the same time, HubSpot is being fed by basic information we have on accounts and contacts. And then you apply a score, and when it comes above a certain score, you can use it as an MQL. Now, marketing, as one of their success factors, is as many MQLs they can get. And then for the BDR to follow it up, and then apparently is nothing, which is unfortunately often the case. Then you see how can we convert into SQLs. And that might be a very interesting topic to think about amongst yourselves in the audience, or to restart talking to your marketing departments. How many MQLs do you need to have, which is your goal? And what can we as a BDR team can do with it, and how can we convert it into our success?
Yeah, and
That
just a
was
quick
what I wanted to say.
explanation. Yeah, just a quick explanation for those in the audience who don't know. MQLs are marketing qualified leads. So those leads are just sent forward from the marketing team activities to the sales funnel. SQLs are sales qualified leads. So the sales team gets it, either an SDR or an account executive, and says, yes, this lead was qualified, I'm going to work it. Moving on to another big topic, and this is one I definitely want to give over to Benjamin. In terms of recruitment, what do you look for in a BDR or in an SDR candidate? What do you think are the necessary skills, or the how do you identify the right potential for them?
I guess it actually depends on the maturity of your team and your maturity of your company. As Alita said, you're not going to hire the same kind of person depending on your sales process and everything you settled before. Our main goal at Talent.io is, generally speaking, not only for the sales process, but for everybody, is to recruit what we like to call A players. A players are people you detect a high potential of success. And even if we have to spend a lot of time to train those people, we would rather recruit people we want to work with, that have a good culture fit with the company, that we detect as A players, rather than people that are just good as sales. Because I mean, like, a good salesman is someone, or saleswoman is someone you can basically find everywhere pretty easily. But someone you really want to work with today, day to day, it's sometimes a bit hard, obviously. Regarding SDRs, some techniques and previous experiences on specific tools are definitely an advantage. But since, again, our team is very new, we are not really focusing on this at the moment, and it's not mandatory since we are still building our own processes. Regarding the sales executives, the people that are going really to meet the client, we want to know, I mean, basically when you're going to through an interview process, you want to prove what are your previous successes. But we do want to know, when we meet someone that is we are interviewing for sales, we want to know what are the previous failures, and we want to know how the person overstepped it. We think it's the most important point. What are the previous failures the person encountered before, so we can know that this is someone that is gonna fight for it and then gonna find solution.
Interesting, thank you. I think besides that, what we typically see in BDR teams as well is that we need to bring a lot of efficiency to the table in order to do this job well. And it can be sometimes be a number game of input and output. And I'd love to hear from Aletta, how do you enable your team in their personal organization and efficiency?
Very happy to comment on that, and actually to tie back with what Benjamin was just saying. It's very important. We tend to hire people in our roles, which are really the most junior roles of a sales org. Often we hire people that then aspire to become sales team members. It's important to hire people not necessarily that have done like the most prestigious studies, but people that show in the recruitment process that they're able to put their head down and deliver and not overthink. So one thing I've been saying a lot is we are educated, especially in France actually, in a way where we tend to overthink every single detail and we want to go very deep into stuff. And actually the SDR or BDR role is very counterintuitive on this sense, is that sometimes you need to be able to deliver a certain amount of volume of activity during a very specific amount of time. And so on the recruitment process, that's something I tend to look for now. More and more is like, how can you show me one time when you've grinded through something, through a task that you didn't necessarily enjoy, and you've seen success in it. And to get back to your question, indeed, the BDR role tends to be very much a numbers game. Actually, at Algolia, at some point, we last year or maybe a year and a half ago, we wanted to know more about what our best BDRs were doing differently from the less performing BDRs. And we got so we did a survey. We went into qualitative and quantitative metrics. And what we found is that the best performing BDRs are the ones that are able to find the perfect balance between quantity and quality. And so what I mean with that is that it's all about your time return on investment. And that's something I keep on repeating to my direct is every time you invest your time in a task, how much do you think you're going to have a return on investment? Okay, so you can take that obviously for your outbounding practice. So this account potential, like how much potential does this account have in the short term? And therefore, how much time do you want to be investing in it? It can also be done on enablement topics. At some point, you might want to decide that you want to take a step back on your volume activity and you want to enable yourself on a topic, which is fine, but you need to be sure that after that, you're going to have a return on investment. What is that time invested going to allow me to do better? And so every time you want to have that notion of time return on investment. And we might talk about this as well later, but it's also very much the case on outbound emails and messaging. When you work on your messaging, how much time do you need to prep your email before you actually send that email? Well, I would say like you always need to do that math before you start prepping, and you need to also probably hierarchize the time that you spend on each. So you might have top tier accounts for which you want to spend a little more time to send a more personalized email, and other accounts where either you're reactivating or you're working on a specific campaign, and in that case you don't need to invest as much time on working the messaging. So you always need to have in mind that curve of time. So what I tend to do in the one-on-ones I have with my teachers is to say, okay, what do you need to deliver this week? I look at it on a weekly period. Okay, so this week, in order to be successful at the end of the month, for instance, let's say you need to generate, I don't know, a certain amount of pipeline. Usually how many opportunities do you need, or how many meetings do you need to generate that pipeline? Okay, so you find that factor. Then you reverse it, you continue the reverse engineering. If you need this amount of meetings, how many people do you usually need to reach out to? Okay, so you get to a number of accounts that you need to reach out to, and then you need to spread it out in your week. And I encourage everyone to actually put slots in their calendar to work on specific accounts and planify that. And that also shows you how, have I frozen? That also shows you how realistic your goal is and your time spent is. Okay. So if you start doing that exercise regularly, you might realize, well, actually, it doesn't even fit in my week, given that I have this call here or participating to this internal meeting here. Well, then it's not going to work, you know. So sometimes you need that sort of reality check of the time that you have, and therefore you want to like make a judgment call every time you invest minutes in an account.
Yeah. Benjamin, Saskia, do you want to add anything to this?
Well, I'm rather known as a very disruptive kind of person. So even in this topic, I will be a little bit more disruptive, although everything Benjamin and Aletta are saying is true. But the real quality of a good BDR is, of course, not the study he or she has followed. It is how they are in life, how they perceive life, and also what is the level of their creativity. Because yes, we need to work with timelines. We need to look at our time frame. I like to work with months, because a month time frame, because then you give some space to people. I'm going to touch very, very fast on a question that was asked before. How do we handle fake, or when it's only about the numbers of activities? So what I do, I always start by recommending what is the end result per month you really need to achieve, and that normally ties in variables. And then I let someone swim. As a manager, we are so used to almost sit on someone, especially when they're new. And what I do, I let them go. I just look at the situation, I let them go, because I know they will find your feet. Being a manager of a BDR team, of working with BDR teams, means also you need to be a little bit out of the box, a little bit disruptive. It's not always easy, but that will get the better results. So, oh shit, there was a police car. But it is disruptive thinking, and it is on a different level. But when you really want to recruit and have great BDRs, look at their creativity and look how they handle totally or subjects out of their comfort zones. That was it.
Nice, thank you. That's super interesting. I think we have not much time left, actually. Time flew by. We have our final words actually already, and then we have time for Q&A. I'd like to have this question to all of you. What is the biggest lesson you can give to future managers that you would have liked someone to tell you before you move into management? Benjamin, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a good tip, but this is something I sometimes experience, especially when in my earlier career as a young manager, I experienced. I think we as humans, we reflect a lot the behavior our direct superiors, our direct manager is having with us. And as we reflect it, it could be good, it could be bad. So we have to really sort out the good from the bad to not reproduce the bad things for your team. Okay, I don't know if I'm very clear, yeah. But it's very important to not reflect the bad things your own boss is asking you to do to your team. You have to protect your team from yours. You have to be, like a buffer between your boss and your team sometimes. Yeah. So the good things you have to learn from it, and you have to reproduce, and the bad things you have to say, okay, no, I don't want to be like that. And this is something I sometimes experienced in my earlier career, especially in consultancies, and this is something you really feel uncomfortable with it, and it's a really bad feeling. So I don't know if it's a
Absolutely.
good tip, but
yeah, we have a German saying, "Don't let poop flow downstream." I said thumbs it up.
Yeah, that's pretty clear now.
Saskia, Aletta, do you want to add some final words as well? What you would recommend young and first-time managers?
Never be afraid. Go for it.
Metaphysics.
Excuse me, sorry, Aletta.
Metaphysical. No, keep going, please.
Okay, so it is being open especially when you're a young manager and you think, oh shit, how am I gonna handle this? How am I gonna, there's so much you need to do. So never be afraid. And it is what Benjamin also said, you are the buffer between everything that goes on in the company and your team. But don't be their mother. Don't be their defender, because that will weaken you and it will strengthen and they will not learn from it. So be open, not afraid, challenge people to get the best out of themselves, because then you will be challenged. How you will see it in reality, you will find out. Try it for 2-3 days. Don't react on everything they ask, because most of the BDRs are constantly asking the way and they know it. But you, as a manager, you will jump into it. So that is what I can give as a lesson today.
I really like that.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, actually, Saskia, I agree, because also BDRs tend to want to grow and learn. They're in these stages, so if you don't challenge them enough, they might think that they've got this and they've gone around this role and they can move on to the next. If you don't challenge them enough, or if you don't give them visibility into what they don't know, they will not be able to figure that out by themselves.
Exactly.
So absolutely agree. I'll add one last point though. From my personal experience these last couple of years, my biggest lesson is never lose sight of each individual. It's very easy sometimes to get lost in dashboards and numbers and workflows and start working off theory and lose the sight of the field. What actually happens. I'm thinking, I also manage the inbound flow, for instance. So one thing that I learned, you think the lead quality is bad? Well, work some leads, Yes, you're a manager, but you still need to stay by the field. One BDR is struggling to find the email address to that company. Well, actually show them and do it with them. Yes. Read their emails, read the cadences, a good manager is someone that actually puts themselves in the BDR's shoes and actually does the job and leads by example as well sometimes, and sometimes cracks their head as well by making videos of themselves or making some cadences, writing some emails, etc. Get wet, as we can say.
And
nice.
if I may,
actually, we only have 6 minutes left for Q&A, and we have a lot of questions in the queue. I really want to be able to get to some of them at least. So one of the questions I would like to throw to our panelists is, how is the actual situation COVID influencing the business, and how do you think this can help to develop stronger professionals and hiring processes, and can this be used in a positive way? Oh, more and more stuff happening to this question. Okay, voilà. Who wants to answer? This goes out to all our panelists.
Yes, COVID again you can use it in 2 ways. You can use it as a negative. Okay, we can't reach people. They're all on confinement. They're all at home. We don't have their mobile numbers, da-da-dee-da-da. But it can also be a chance to become creative. Use, for instance, marketing tools like SideTrade, in which you start emailing, go into LinkedIn, see what you can do there. It is a way, again, of an état d'esprit. You can have it in 2 ways. So are we threatened by COVID? Yes, probably our results will go down because we can't call as many people because we don't have their numbers. But we can invent together as a team. You can invent what is the way to go. Webinars seem to work fine for a lot of companies. So again, I state my first point, don't be afraid. Go in it, discuss with your team to see what you can do. It is not like imposing, this is what we do. Take their opinions as well.
Yeah.
And it works.
Thank you for that, Saskia. We have another question. When do you promote BDR to sales roles or account executives?
I can take that one.
Yeah. I was thinking that.
The way we approach it is, it's very close to what I've said before. You need to constantly show the BDR what they don't know. So the way we've approached it at Algolia is we came up with this, what we call a BDR framework or an enablement framework. Actually, Mirka has worked are overachieving or you really own the role and it's time for you to give back to the people that are onboarding. And you need to have, so you have specific goals at every stage, okay? So these goals can obviously be KPIs, but they can also be enablement topics that you've tackled, or it can be a specific session you've had with your manager, mock calls, doing a demo, things like that. These stages happen, they can only be executed when you're in this window of maturity in your role. And you need to check these boxes to move to the next stage, okay? So it's very obvious, it's written black on white, and everybody has to go through the same steps, so you kind of remove this emotional feeling of the maturity of someone as much as possible, because you don't want to promote people on emotion, you want to promote people on their abilities. And also it gives you a guarantee when someone moves into an AE role that they have gone through all of these steps and that they are at this level of enablement. So showing the team members what they still need to learn and how the AE role is different and how the AE role will be challenging them in a different way of how they are challenged today are key, I believe, in keeping people in role sometimes and then promoting them when they're actually ready.
Yeah, thank you for that. We also have a really long question, but which is super interesting, so bear with me. KPIs, pipe, and stage are good tools for measuring activity and global situation awareness. However, don't you believe that when they become the goal rather than the tool, we're actually missing the target and demotivating teams? In brackets, we all know how easy it is to fake CRM and KPIs. Are you facing the situation? How do you accommodate when it happens? How do you prevent the situation?
Yeah, it's me. The problem is that a lot of the, especially sales directors or sales managers, they think being a BDR is just picking up the phone, you do it 8 hours a day, and wow, at the end of the day, you have results. And I always across that by asking, when was the last time you did a BDR role? Because this is all about a different worlds, not being aligned. The real goal for a BDR is to set qualified meetings in which there might be a qualified opportunity to fill in the pipeline so that a sales can close it. That is the real being of a BDR. It is not the number of phone calls. So if a BDR achieves 4 meetings in only 10 appel tentatifs, hey guys, he's a winner. And out of those 4 qualified meetings will come 2 opportunities. That's even better. So it's not the quantity of activities. Yes, of course, when someone does nothing, it won't work. But the real objective are the targets, the KPIs, and if anyone from higher management level says, yeah, but they need to do 960 calls a month, it won't say anything. And yes, it's fake. So also look as their manager, as their enabler, into their descriptions. What are they filling out? How is the conversation done? Can you see back the questions in what they're doing? That will give you clear view on what they're doing, but never take number of activities as a specific target because it won't work.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I totally agree with it.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have more questions from our lovely crowd. Outbound sales. Should BDRs be responsible for finding new sources of leads? Or should this be the team manager's role or marketing's role?
I guess that totally depends on your organization, and that totally depends on what you're actually selling. Marketing are using tools that BDRs mostly don't have. I mean, like it could be socials, it could be Google Ads, it could be really specific tools to marketing that you can't work on it when you are on a business development role. But yeah, I guess it is part of the role of a BDR to find new sources of lead, especially when it comes to cold calling or to identify a new kind of opportunity, new kind of client or activity sector you want to work on. I think it is. Then you can use marketing tools to help you on it. But I think it's part of the BDR responsibility, yes.
If I may add, I'd say that marketing and sales don't deliver the same leads. They should both be functioning, because marketing will deliver leads that, people that talk to Algolia, where BDRs are an individual talking to another individual, and different people react to these stimuli. And actually, what we see as most efficient to generate leads is a very strong alignment between marketing and sales and the BDRs, where marketing talks as Algolia and where the BDR talks as me, John Doe, and I'm talking to you as an individual. And so the mix of these two strategies is really what we have seen as most successful.
Nice, thank you. Super, super interesting. We have one final question. How does creativity influence how the sales cycle proceeds? Could you give some examples apart from webinars?
Wow. Well, I think I should be the one.
That's what I thought as well.
Well, there is no specific definition of creativity. I mean, I cannot paint or draw or whatever arty, but I am a great cook. So my creativity is in cooking. And then you can follow a recipe, or you can open up your fridge and say, what do I have in it? And just cook with the ingredients you find. The same goes for being in a BDR role, actually in all the walks of life. You need to find within yourself the way of looking differently at things. So when you see an account, for instance, Danone, and you want to enter Danone, you need to think about what would be the message that I can give Danone about my company that will strike a chord. Aletta mentioned it earlier in this event, in which she said, hey, you need to look with knowledge. Well, there is the art of mathematics, that's the account, everything in it, but then you start the art of creativity. And that shows into what message do you want to give. It's not, hey, this is me, buy from me. It is relating to what is important for that specific company. So it is not just a webinar. It could be an email. It could be calling. It could even be sending a present. It could be in non-COVID times, doing other things like an event or a breakfast. Think out of the box, go on a boat. I don't care, as long as you relate one person to another, because that person represents your company, as Aletta says.
Yeah, creativity starts with empathy. Like
Exactly.
What does my customer, in what situation are they? And that applies to COVID as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, COVID is happening. How do my customers, how are they impacted? And therefore, how can I help them? How can I add value to them? And there you find creativity and new ways of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, taking a customer-centric point of view. Absolutely. And to speak to them like we would want to be spoken to.
Exactly.
As our final question of the day, let's dive into the topic of remote work. How do you best manage a remote team in these times? Share some tips and tricks.
Yeah, well, the problem, and I think let's go back to when all the strikes were happening in Paris. We were unable to take the metro, so we were bound to take cars, being endless queues and traffic jams. But in a way, we were getting ready to really embrace teletravail. Now, I've been, as I told you before, audience, I've been a disruptive consultant. When I started my businesses in the Netherlands about 25 years ago, I let the people who were my employees work from home. Now, there's one thing which is difficult as being a manager or even directors, it's trust. Because the first question everybody starts asking themselves, how can I measure what they do at home? Aren't they secretly doing the wash? Aren't they cleaning the house while watching a webinar? We never know. So it is trust. And I think that already we all gave you important words like empathy, trust, creativity, and you see it is a soft factor. But trust is the most important thing to have people remotely work. Yes, and at the end of the day, we will look at the results of the day, we will report, we will analyze, and we will manage. And it will ask a lot from you managers to communicate, because you can't just send out emails. It is calling people. It is looking them in the eye with Zoom or Skype or Teams. Absolutely. It is a heavy burden sometimes, but when you have the trust in the people you manage, then remote working is not a problem.
Thank you for that, Saskia. Benjamin, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I do agree totally on the trust issue, because trust is something that is strongly part of our company culture at Talent, and this is something we give automatically to any newcomer in the company. This is not something you're gonna deserve, you're gonna earn later on once you've done your proof. This is something we give.
Yes.
So once we give this, people can work from, anywhere in the world, any time of the day. We just trust them. So I totally agree. I can't be more agree with it. And obviously, for remote, you have the tools, you have Zoom, you have Hangout, you have everything, you have the phone, you have everything. But the trust is everything.
Absolutely. Aletta, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I guess. And to build that trust, I really believe that the best way is to Zoom as much as possible. Like, there shouldn't be any lengthy Slack conversations. Everything should be done live.
Yes.
We all know it, right? We all had this situation where we sent a text and the tone was misinterpreted. We all know as well, because we are sales, like ultimately we're also in sales. We know that someone you talk to, you will get much more information, the nonverbal communication, for instance, than by a message written somewhere. So really, really, I encourage everyone to use a phone, Zoom, whatever it takes. Talk several times a day. I want to see all of my team members every day, whether they do well or not well, and that gives you the best like pulse of the team members.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone. This brings us to the end of our Tech Break today. Thank you so much for the panelists, and thanks everybody for listening in. We hope you enjoyed it. Our next Tech Break is going to be about tech for good. We're going to send you an email with the video of this edition and the recording, and also a link to register for the new one, so you can join us soon. So have a great day, enjoy your day in the pajamas, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Mirka.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.